I'm meeting Mandy Mercuri today. I can't wait. This beautiful woman just contacted me online and we've connected ever since. Lived experience to lived experience, but there's just so much more to this exciting new friendship with Mandy.
Hello. How you going?
Well, lived experience to lived experience, but also we've gone beyond that, which I really love. I really like we connected, and now all these other things are sort of starting to happen, and it's really great. You leave pain where it should be. We sort of touch on it if we're feeling a bit crap, and then we're on to the
Yeah.
next thing. It's really
There
good.
are other parts of our lives, aren't there?
There
It's not
are.
just about pain. My pain condition results from scoliosis surgery when I was a teen. So my spine was in the shape of an S, basically, quite dramatic. And I had 2 operations to correct that. So now it's straight, but yeah, I've had probably about 30 years living with ongoing chronic pain. And I suppose a big turning point for me was 10 years ago. I did a self-management course at St. Vincent's Hospital, and it was a massive game changer. So I'm sure we will touch on the reasons why that was the case. But yeah, I'm so grateful that I got to go to that and learn so many things that have really helped me with managing my pain on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, right. But your background, professional background, PhD in science, strategic advisor.
Yeah, so I was actually just reflecting earlier about, sometimes people say, what do you do? And mine's been pretty haphazard kind of career. But one thing that I have done over the last probably 10 years is look after my kids. So I've got 2 not so little ones anymore. And I have really been very lucky and fortunate to be at home with them. So that has taken up a great deal of my last couple of years. And then I've just only since they've gone to school returned to professional work. And that's where I did some work, in the not-for-profit sector and, enjoying the freedom that I can, do a little bit of work here and manage my pain other times. And it's a very flexible lifestyle that I've got, which
Yeah.
is great.
Something that I was gonna ask as the first question. You sort of out and you're meeting people and you're having a great time, whether you're at a dinner or whatever, and someone says, how are you, and what do you do, how do you word your world, like you sort of touched on it there, but those moments where people, you just don't know how to answer, you don't know how much to get into the pay, you don't know, like, how do you answer?
I often, it's the fear of people asking that question. I'm like, oh God, what will I say? Last year I had this awesome answer, which was like, I'm actually on an adult gap year, which I loved, except then COVID hit and I couldn't get to use it because I wasn't meeting anyone. So I had this great plan of what I was going to say to people. But anyway, my adult gap year has extended to this year because last year was just like, well, right off. So I get to start again. And so I'm still on my adult gap year, which means that I am working a little bit, looking after myself a little bit, and just enjoying life.
Yeah, I like that. That's really great. That's fantastic. When do you, like, what's your rule for when you let that pain side of the story come out and when you don't? I mean, we obviously prefer not to be identified by our pain. You want to talk about your profession and your life and but when do you feel comfortable at all? Like at times to actually go, and,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
let it.
most of the time I do. I mean, I don't it's not the first thing I say. It's not like, hi, I'm Andy, I've got bad back. Although, generally it tends to come out and I'm getting a lot better. Like I used to never say it. It was always like, I'm not talking about that at all. But more recently, I definitely will let people know because it's a big part of what I do on a day-to-day basis. So I'll often say, and I've got a chronic back condition, so I spend a lot of time managing it, but that'll often draw a blank look from people, and so I then have to explain what that means, which is just that I need to spend a lot of time exercising and meditating and looking after myself, maybe I don't know, more than your average person,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
that's how it comes up. And a lot of people that know me will ask, and again, I'm getting better at being okay with them asking me,
Yeah.
because sometimes you think, can you ask me about something else? Okay, like how's your
I
yeah,
do
anything
other
going?
things.
Yeah,
I
that's right. You don't want it to be the first question, but I'm good at answering that one now and being honest about it too. I
Yeah,
think when people asked in the past, I would often say, "Oh, it's fine," which just means it's not fine at all. It sucks. So now I say, "Yeah, I have challenging days, and at the moment it's good, or at the moment it's not so good, and I'm needing a bit of extra help." And I just think it's important to be honest. People
yeah.
don't ask unless they want to really know what your answer is, and you
That,
get the feeling pretty quickly if they've zoned out. You're like, anyway, so seen
yeah.
any good movies lately?
That's what I was going to say before when you talked about the silence. Like, depends on how long the silence is, and then you gauge it by that. If it's too long, you just go right next. I don't want to bother people either. Um, but the turnaround moments, I've heard you sort of talk about those. But sometimes there's a sentence or a word, or even just it could be a treatment, and you may have heard it before, or you may not have, but suddenly something gels and something clicks and something all falls together, and it reaches you.
Yeah.
Is it the timing with those things, or how do you relate? Like, where have you really just gone ping? That's it. Now that
Yeah.
resonates with me, and I'm taking it on.
Yeah. I think that there've been probably 3 moments like that I can really clearly remember and identify. And the first one was when I was probably at my worst. So it was after my first child was born. The pain was really debilitating. I was, yeah, I was in a very, very dark place. And I think my husband ended up saying to me one night that when I often he would come home and I would literally like pass over the baby and say, I need to go to bed, like it's all too hard. And he would say to me, on those days, they are my darkest days. And it was something about the way he said that made me click. Actually, this isn't just about me, like everything that I'm experiencing, you're experiencing, and sometimes worse,
Yeah.
because he has to deal with the fallout of it all. So that was a really big thing, and that actually was a trigger for me to go and get some help, which then led to the doctor referring me to the pain clinic. So it was just finally it made sense how much I was impacting him. And to have a young baby as well, knowing that they'd have to grow up and deal with it as well, it was just enough to make me go, right, I gotta do something about this, and I've got to do it myself.
Yeah.
For them, but also for myself. So that was a really big one. And then during that pain management course, actually, this is a bit of a stupid story, but I kind of like it because for me, this was what clicked, right? So I'm at the hospital.
Won't be stupid. I'm sure there won't be anything stupid here.
I'm at the hospital, and at hospitals, the doors open out in case, something's gone wrong and a nurse has got to come and get you. But every time I went to the toilet, I think I pushed on the door. And it was like literally like 3 or 4 days into the course. I walked up to the toilet door and I stopped and I pulled and I went, oh, I have just trained myself to do something that I'm not used to doing. And it was this massive ping of, oh, that also means I can now change the way I deal with my pain or the way I think about my pain. And so it was this way for me to demonstrate to myself that your brain changes, and you can teach an old dog new tricks. And it helped to overcome all the fear that I had that I wasn't going to be able to get better and I wasn't going to be able to change. So I was quite grateful for that toilet door.
All the stuff that we hear it, or we see it on a piece of paper, we read it, but to actually feel like you're standing in that moment, like it becomes three-dimensional. No wonder it sinks in. No wonder if you get the ping moment, you really you feel it.
Yeah. And it was the same with on that course. I've heard so many times to just pace yourself, and you've just got to pace yourself. And you're just like, well, what does that actually mean? Like, show me. And in that course, they showed us what pacing means. It means, figuring out how long you can sit for and not sitting for longer than that. And then slowly building up. That means that I'm pacing myself to not get into pain before I stop. I'm stopping before the pain starts. And so physically actually showing me and giving me a little tool of how to figure it out for other activities in my life meant I could do it myself. So yeah, it's like the teach a man to fish analogy, which I can't remember how it goes, but like show me how to do it and I will be able to do it.
Yeah, there's so much that is taken for granted, isn't it? That we're just told this is what you need to do. But you've not lived it before, you've not understood what this whole world is like. So pacing in your ordinary, normal, healthy world means something else, means something different to someone who lives with chronic pain. Yeah, we do. We need that guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember the wording, but there was some research done about 10 facts about back pain.
Yeah.
And one of them was that sometimes there's no cause for pain. Yeah. And I already knew that, right? Like I'd learned that ages ago, pain science 101, sometimes there's no causes. It's just, you know, confusion in the pain messages to your brain. And I knew it, right? But something particularly that day when I read it again made me realize that if that is the case, then also everything that I do doesn't necessarily result in pain. So it's not always my fault. And I don't know what it was about it, but it just made me really give myself a bit more permission to go easy on myself, to think if pain doesn't have a cause, then what I did yesterday and the day before is not necessarily caused this pain flare up. It might have just happened regardless. Yeah. So I don't need to always beat myself up for doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, that's really good. So that also makes you relax when you're doing stuff. And that's such a key thing, isn't it? To be able to not be tense and not have that concern that, oh my goodness, I'm going to go bang, you know, this is going to be bad. That's such a big deal for us, isn't it? Yeah. Over the years, you know, we've got our favorite terms and our not favorite terms. I mean, I really don't like the word brave. Like people so often say, Soula, you're so brave. And, you know, like brave to me is someone really taking on something that they don't have to and managing it, you know, like really taking it on. But I feel like I've been forced into managing chronic pain. And so I just want to make something of it. And so I advocate. I don't think that that's brave. So brave is sort of a bit, you know, like I'm surviving here really. But have you got any like terms that you just, you know, really don't like people using?
It's funny because I often, in my low moments, I think, oh, I'm so weak. Like, why can't I deal with this? I'm so weak. And then other people will say to me, but what are you saying? You're so strong. And I think, well, maybe weak, strong, doesn't matter. Like it's same with brave. You know, you're brave or you're not. It just is. Like it just is this way, and we've got to figure out we're going to deal with it. And some days we'll deal with it quite well, and other days not so well.
This is what it is comes to me a lot now, and it calms me down because it means that you don't have to work things out. You don't have to find a reason, a definition. It is what it is. And I think maybe that comes from living with chronic pain for such a long time that you do learn. Again, it becomes a three-dimensional thing that you've been living for such a long time that you just get it. You just go, look, and we've been following the research. So we're the type of patients as well that we really look for information actively. And so when you don't find it year after year after year, you can say to yourself, that is what it is. And move on, you know, kind of gives you that excuse too. Move on.
Yeah, and I think that's what I sometimes get stuck on. You get stuck on the reasons or beating yourself up or whatever, but that just means you're being inactive. Just sitting there feeling sorry for yourself or whatever. So the whole it is what it is, and now what are you going to do? Like what next?
Yeah,
is helpful in terms of just, you know, working through it.
Yeah. Do you think we're on that, you know, sort of feeling sorry for yourself, and that we do still need some? Do you think you need those moments? So sometimes you just go, hey, look, today for an hour.
Yep.
I'm going to give myself a moment to just get really upset about this because I've had it.
Yeah, I have totally, Soula, and we should, because you know it is hard to deal with. But what you said is perfect. Like it's a time frame. Like you can wallow for an hour, maybe a day,
Yeah.
but like not every day. Not all day, every day, 7
We
days
don't
a
wanna
week.
lose
That's
a
not
whole day.
helpful,
We've
right?
lost enough. We've lost enough time. You lose another day. But yeah, it's important to acknowledge how hard it is.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And I'm a massive crier, right? Like my mum used to say that I had really clear tear ducts and bright eyes because of how much I cry. But for a while there, you try not to, right? You don't want to put what you're going through onto other people. So I would sometimes talk about my pain and find it really hard not to cry while I was talking about it. But then some days you just think you just need to let it out. And it hurts more to hold in that emotion than it does to just share and be open and just let the tears flow. And sometimes you need to clear out the tear ducts.
This is another good thing I've learned so much from you. I've learned so much from you. And this is another thing I'm going to learn, because I'm not a crier. I hardly ever cry. I'll cry more with happiness. Like when I look at my nieces and their little ones and all that sort of stuff. Like but it takes me like years before and then I'll just have a little tear and then I'm fine. Like it's weird, but yeah, I'm not much of a crier. So that's good.
You might do other stuff to deal with, bottling up of emotions or whatever. You're just not a crier.
Well, who knows what drives that side of it? I don't know. We don't need to learn that.
Yeah.
When people talk to you, because you're the pain expert, and of course everybody asks us about they've got a friend and they're concerned about their friend, if my friend. But do you ever find that they say, look, now she's got real pain, like her pain's a real pain? Do you ever get that? Because I get that all the time, and her pain's real pain. I just think, oh God, so is mine. Do you ever get that?
I don't, but I just feel like that's really heartbreaking to hear that people say that to you, because it's so difficult to deal with the term of invisible pain. Like, it doesn't make it any less or any more challenging or any more of a big impact on our lives. The fact that you can't see your pain, you can't see my pain either. Like, I mean, I'll show you my scar if you really want to see it, I have to prove it. But yeah, I haven't had many people say that to me, which I'm grateful for, because I think that's really they would never really understand the impact that would have on you. I'm sure it's not intentional.
No.
I actually have sometimes had the reverse problem. People will say to me, oh, I'm really battling with these headaches, but I'm sure it's nothing like your pain, like as if pain is a competition that we need to compare against. I'm like, well, if you've got a really bad headache and it's impacting you and you can't do what you want to do, that's the same as me.
Yeah,
and
no, I get that too. I definitely get that too. But yeah.
So I sometimes, if people say that to me, like, oh, I'm sure it's not as bad as yours, I'm saying, well, I'm sure it is. If you're mentioning it, then it's obviously enough for you to talk to me about it. So yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's right. On professionals, because we've seen enough of them between the two of us now. There's fantastic manner. We've got those professionals who are so good at what they do, but then you've got really sort of not great manner, and there's various levels and different states between the patient and the professional. Like, how do we get that common ground? Like, where do we I can't say that, for example, my profession and me, the way the identity of my life, I can't say that it's ever present when I meet a professional. Like, it's not like it is now when we talk, that you feel like someone might know that you're a person. Like, I sort of feel bare, and you're standing there sort of naked, like a number and just another patient. But I don't know, what do you think we need at appointments? What do you think what's really missing with chronic pain patients? What do we need? How do we get that great help?
It's a really tricky one, and I don't even really know how to answer it, because I like you, I've been in front of people crying, of course, saying how much of an impact it's having on my life, and you kind of get nothing. They're just like fiddling with their papers as if this is, it's a day-to-day occurrence, or as if it's a no big deal, but it's your whole life. So, and you are there, bearing all. But then I've also had excellent ones who, totally understand what that's like. And I mean, it's about empathy and compassion, I suppose. What we really want is for someone to just say, I understand how hard that must be for you, and for them to listen and not to jump to conclusions or put us in some sort of stereotypical box, because everyone's different and we've all got, you know, different ways of coping or seeking help in different ways. So I think I often hear people with chronic pain complain that their doctor isn't sympathetic or doesn't understand what it's like. And I think you don't have to have pain to know what it's like to
believe.
Be in pain. And it could be emotional pain. It could be, you know, pain within relationships in your family. Like, it's still a feeling that you wish your life was different in some way. That's what we all feel. So that's kind of a common thing. Like, you can feel empathetic to another person when they feel that way, because everyone's been in a situation where you'd wish your life was different in some way.
So they can,
maybe coming to you with.
Maybe they sort of have this idea that pain is different, you know, and that they have to manage it differently. But you're right. If it's always just broken down to heartbreak or you know, sympathy, bereavement, when you've lost a loved one, or they'll be able to manage that. I guess what that is, then one of the key things to that is listening, like really just listening to someone and just offering care. But maybe the pressure's on because we're expecting help and it's complex. We're not going to get our answers straight away. So I guess there's pressure on the practitioners. But I guess one thing I would say to someone, if they said, look, I'm just not, and I have said it, not getting this help that I need, I tell people to move on. I tell them, you know, I just say, look, you've got to have the confidence. If it's not working for you, just because it's your GP from, you know, you've had them all your life, that doesn't mean that you have to stay there. You know, just move on, find somebody else. I don't think, you know, I think everyone should have the courage to say, look, is there anyone else I can see?
Yeah. And I think I was brought up to believe that doctors are all powerful beings that should be bowed down to, and we listen to what they say and we never interrupt them, and, you know, you just go in there and take your little script and go off and fill it because they told you to, you know. But I think as I've gotten older and I've gotten a bit more in tune with my own body and what works and what doesn't, I'm kind of a little bit less gripping to that theory that these practitioners are to just be whatever they say, you accept it and you do it, and you bow down to them. Like, they're just people like we are, and we should be having conversations on just an even ground of, I'm a person telling you about what's happening to my life and seeking your help. And I think another thing is being very clear, like, what do you want out of that appointment? And you going in there with clear goals and an intention that you want to get something out of it.
That's great advice. Having that, what is it? And putting it down. It's communication, but like, as you say, you know, the fear of taking on this God or it's really hard, isn't it?
And I mean, actually, Soula, I've got to change positions. Can we stand up? I'm just going.
I was just doing.
I don't care if you pause it or we just keep going.
Let's do it.
Stand up.
Stand up. There we go.
We're demonstrating our pacing. So I can't stand for too long or sit for too long. So
yeah, I know. It's sort of a reality. Here we go.
Stand. Yeah. Oh no, I know what I was going to say. I was going to say that all of that discussion of what we've just said brings me to your awesome thing of Pain Train, because Pain Train gives people the opportunity to be clear on that before they even walk in the door. Because as you and I know, sometimes you walk in there with this great intention of, I'm going to tell this person what's going on and it's going to be so clear and I'm going to walk out there with my life sorted. And you get in there and you're just like, or they ask you a question and you just go off on some other tangent and your 7 minutes is up and bang, you're out of there, and you come away going, I don't think that worked. I didn't get what I wanted.
I was so frustrated by that. There were many reasons for me to create pain trained, but that was one of them. And just feeling like I would forget. I mean, I just wasn't well enough. And you're expected to remember all of this stuff. And then, yeah, your GP sent the referral in, but it's not quite right. They've missed out so much of this really important information that you really want to say. And those appointments, usually if you're going to a specialist or somebody, number one, you're not physically, you're not well enough to be able to go to a lot of appointments. So it's really important to get the most out of your appointment. So you don't want to go back again and again and again. And you do. I mean, it takes 3 appointments just to introduce yourself. But that was another one. I got frustrated. I realized I was sort of frustrated with myself, but then I thought, no, hang on a minute, this is really hard to do. You need some support, and how many pieces of paper can you take in there? But no.
And when you've got a long history, how can you be expected to remember the date and time of the operation that you had like 25 years ago, and who was the doctor and what was his name and where did he grow up? Like, it's all this sort of stuff that's just going to fly out of your brain.
Yeah, and even if you're filing it at home, I thought, because I'm good like that, I file stuff on your computer changes, your stuff goes, it still files everywhere. But physiotherapists, like, have you found that they're just awesome? Like, I just out of everyone that you see, of course, I mean, I love my pain specialists, help me so much, but the physiotherapists, like, they're so hands-on. The consults are not as expensive. Like, they really just they just do so much work, and they're friendly. Sort of, they have a different manner as well. Like, have you found that? Have you found that they reach you so much more?
Yeah, I think that they're, you're not just a person. You're actually you've got a person with moving parts, and they're actually happy to get up and work with you on those moving parts as well. And I just recently had a really great experience with a physio that I worked with at a pain, like a rehab hospital. And I've just written about some of the experiences that we had in an article that I've just written about sort of the good, the bad, and the ugly of physios. And one of the great things that I found that he did was, very early on, he said to me, we're going to do this, we're going to work on these exercises, and come back and see me next week. But let's just be really clear, this week when you're doing these exercises, you'll probably have a flare up. Like, he just said it straight up. And I was like, well, yeah, that is probably true. But by actually verbalizing it to me, it meant when it happened, and it happened, I didn't feel like, I wasn't scared, I wasn't going to give up, which in the past I probably would have just gone, oh, well, these exercises aren't working because here I am in a pain flare. And so that was really good. Like, there was no, I'm going to cure you and it'll all be fine, and come back next week and you'll be great. He actually said, this will probably cause a flare up, so just expect it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really great that he was that honest, and kind of gave me that free pass, really, of experiencing that when it did happen.
More like a friend talking to you.
Exactly.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. Another thing that he did, which a friend would do, is he said to me, do you think this could contribute to your pain? And he sort of said a few things, and it was something a little bit out of left field, and I was like, oh yeah, I've heard that from other people, but I've heard conflicting stuff, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. And so he said, look, go home and think about it. I'm going to email you some resources. He emailed me this research paper and this other thing. And then and he said, and talk to your partner about it, see what he thinks about it as well, because he was quite open with the fact that we, as a couple, I suppose, had this particular theory about what is going on with my back. And then he was kind of saying, what if it's not that, it's actually this, which was it was a pretty big deal. And so I did that. I read the stuff and talked to Mike, and came back the next week, and I'm like, I'm open to that. Like, let's explore. But I wouldn't have done that if he had just said, well, I think it's this.
Yeah.
And, end of conversation.
Yeah.
But he actually said, hey, what about, do you think it could be this?
That's really.
I think with the GP, there. I mean, there's also the good, the bad, and the ugly with GPs, but they're time limited, and they have got distinct bits of presentation that they've got to quickly go bang, 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 bang. I think it could be this, and they're great at it when it's an easily diagnosed cold symptom or whatever. But when it's complex, like pain, we know pain can be, and it's influenced by your life and what's going on, and all those other sort of factors that can influence pain.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as just ticking a few boxes and go, yeah, you've got this condition, see you later.
Yeah. It's almost like a culture though, isn't it? Like such a different culture between physios and GPs. And well, what do you see our role as patients, like as people living with chronic pain? Like, you know, I know that we offer guidance, but often we're taking back a lot of information to professionals. Like I do feel sometimes that the roles are a bit reversed, that you're the professional, and you know, you're sort of helping them help others. Of course, it's a really valid thing to do, but you know, how do you manage that? What are your thoughts on that backward sort of thing that we're doing, going in there and advising?
Yeah, it is hard. It is hard because you've got to, I suppose you've got to be confident that you know your body well, and I think that I do go into appointments often and say, this is what I'm experiencing, this is the, you know, history, this is the background, this is what I think might be behind some of the, you know, the flare-ups or whatever. So it's a little bit about being very clear about what your own condition is and what kind of things impact that and influence that, and that takes time to develop, I think. But again, you know, if you go in and speak to a practitioner with that confidence and experience about your own condition, it can be very empowering for us, but also for the practitioner. Yeah. Like a recent physio told me, wow, like he sort of went, whoa, you know you know a lot, he said. And people on their pain journey were able to have that same opportunity to learn more about their pain and about their experiences, because I think and this may not be answering your question, but it was just something that I'm kind of passionate about, is I don't think you need to be at the end of your rope before you get given this opportunity to learn this stuff. Like, why did I have to wait 20 years before I got myself in such a state that I had to then seek help and go and figure out how to manage my pain myself? Like, why couldn't self-management have been offered to me years earlier?
But you know, it takes a lot to learn though, a lot of this stuff. It takes a lot to because you need a lot of foresight. You do need to know what's going to happen when you do this, what's going to happen when you do that. And it just takes such a long time. You need to know, and you need to know the good, what's going to happen, you know, when I do that, and the bad, what's going to happen when I do that. So, you know, it just takes such a long time. And of course, we're changing as we go too. Like, our bodies are changing and everything. So it is really hard to get to a point. And if you're not intuitive, or, you know, a lot of people don't really know their bodies. Like, I don't know what that is, whether that's a chemistry thing, but I feel like I know my body a lot. I get that a lot at appointments. Wow, you know, you really know a lot. But I think some people can't gather that information, and they find it really hard.
You're really in the depths of your pain and you don't want to face it, so you can't gather that knowledge because you're kind of not really in the headspace to get. I mean, I go through we go through our cycles of it, don't worry. But it kind of comes back to acceptance being a really big part of the pain management journey and getting to that point. And that's not an easy point to get to, and sometimes you can even lose it. My recent pain flare, I've kind of like lost it. Like, I was in a period of acceptance, and then I'm suddenly like, hang on a minute, like I'm sorry, but I don't want this anymore, and I don't understand what's going on. And so it's always changing, and you've got to be flexible. But I think if you haven't accepted that pain is a part of your life, you can't gather that information, because you're just not, I don't know, you're not able to. You're just not able to turn towards your pain in such a way that you can get that information, because you haven't accepted that it's a part of you.
Actually, my pain levels are far lower, but it's just I've just reached my tether. I feel like I've lost my patience. I'm getting less and less patience. So sort of when you lose it, it's like, oh God, so you look around and you just go, so you've been through like much harder stuff than that. Like the first 4.5 years were really, really bad. You're going to lose it now. Like really, you talk yourself through that stuff. Go, what are you doing? Like just, a bit of a slap in the face.
But I think because pain so changes so much, like you can accept pain at a current level, and you've got all your mechanisms and you're really good, and yeah, I've accepted this. But then if it like spikes up, you're like, hang on a minute, I wasn't, no, I'm not accepting that.
This wasn't part of the plan.
This wasn't the deal. So it does, it makes it hard when things change. We've just got to be adaptable.
Yeah. Partners, like I can say our partners because yours sound amazing. I haven't met him, but it's such great fortune. But I don't know. Without Theo, I don't know where I'd probably be living in a caravan somewhere. Because by the time I cooked something or cleaned something, I'd be wiped out. But yeah, like what do you your partner, like your rock?
Yeah. Awesome. I exactly the same. I don't know how I would function without him. There's so much that he does behind the scenes that most people would think is not a big deal, but it really is a big deal. Yeah. We've always had pretty good communication, so I can tell him exactly how I'm feeling and what I need, and those conversations go pretty smoothly because I usually am pretty clear with, right now I feel like this, I need you to do this so that I can go and do this. But it didn't used to be, wasn't always that easy. I think we spent a lot of time, probably I felt a lot of guilt and a lot of shame about the way my pain impacted on him, and the way that I couldn't kind of contribute to our relationship and our family the way I wanted to. So and that's hard. Yeah, you kind of want to show up in a much better way than some days what you're physically capable of. There's one thing that I wanted to share that I figured out recently, which I thought was a really big like aha moment, and that's I was talking to a girlfriend about the love languages. Do you know about the love languages? 5 love languages. So there's different ways that we can show our love for someone, and there's different ways that we can receive it from other people. Okay. Anyway, I won't go into it, but like one of them is acts of service, which is like, you're doing stuff for people. You're cooking for them, or you're keeping the house clean, or you're
moving the pot,
going out and getting them shopping or whatever. Yeah, being helpful. And I think that's my default, right? Like I was just kind of brought up that way, that's how I show other people that I love them and appreciate them. And when my pain is hard, when I'm finding it hard to deal with my pain, I can't do those acts of service in the way that I would like. And so I feel like it really, limits the way that I can show my partner and my kids how much I love them. But then I was like, the other day I was like, well, there's other ways that I can. So I feel silly that I've actually just taken this long to work it out. But you can tell them that you love them, or you can write them a note, or you can give them a gift or whatever. I can't remember what the other ones are. There's other ways you can do it. So that was really learning for me to show the kids and Mike as well. So now we've got it on the fridge. And if my pain's really bad, I've got this little thing that I put around acts of service with it. It's like got a cross through it. It's like temporarily unavailable. Because they need to know that I just can't, I can't cook them for them, and I can't, I can't do the acts of service that I want to do right now because my pain's bad. So you need to just come over to me and I'll just tell you how awesome you are.
That is so good but the other thing is, the other great thing about that is you don't want to be saying, I don't feel well, pain levels. Like you just get sick of hearing yourself, and I'm sure they don't, it's hard for them to hear it as well. So that's what a simple system. Just go to the fridge, like there.
Yeah.
So
choose something else from the menu, because that is so right good. Now.
Maybe that's great. And look, I get why it takes so. I'm still figuring out some things. I get to the point where I just go, why didn't I think of that before? It's just a simple thing. Why did I think of it? But it takes time. It takes a long time to learn to manage chronic pain. It takes ages, and we can't kick ourselves for it.
No.
the erraticness, like that whole, like, how do you think your partner manages, or like I said, I know how they manage because they're amazing. They're both amazing, but I feel terrible when, one day you're able to do so much, and then suddenly, you can't do anything the next day. And it might be something that they really want to do, or
Mm.
I just, how do you manage that? Like, I just feel so awful.
Yeah. Probably my answer to that is I don't manage it well, and I'm the same. Like, I just tend to beat myself up or feel guilty or whatever about it. But we often have backup plans.
Yeah,
Plan B. Pull out a plan B if something goes totally wrong.
that's
But
good.
they've dealt to be, figured out to be quite adaptable to situations as well, and deal with the fact that sometimes you will be disappointed, and we talk about that kind of pretty openly as well. I think it's actually kind of nice to demonstrate to kids that
Yeah,
we are human, and that sometimes things don't work out how you want, and you're disappointed, and I'm sorry about that, but you know hopefully tomorrow will do what you wanted, or tomorrow will be a better day.
yeah,
But
that's really, well, I'm for a drink or something, but the car, like, I just avoid the car, especially when I know something big's coming up, and we've got, sort of a big family event coming up in a couple of Sundays, and I just need to be really well because I've got to get there, get back. It's a big lunch, blah blah blah. And so, we start planning for that now, and I just think, oh, but then we thought, right, hang on a minute, let's do this. Let's go down to the local pub still. Let's do this. Let's go out for breakfast here on foot. Like, let's just, and you come up with the alternative, and you still have a great day. But
yeah,
yeah, you still get all that guilt and all that. Oh.
I know it's hard when those emotions pop up and can overwhelm us sometimes, but
Yeah.
that's
Well,
when
the
you
kids,
talk about it or call a friend.
yeah. The kids, that's what I was going to. I mean, Theo and I don't have children, and that's certainly a more, a less pressure. It must be so hard, and they're little sponges. Like, what are they learning? Do you think about the definitions and of pain and understanding pain? Like, they must be amazing. And this is where we really need to start. Like, imagine how incredible they're going to be when they're older. I hope they don't have to ever face pain in their life again. I hope that they're free to live their lives with their partners or whoever, or but yeah, what do you think they're learning? Like, well, I mean, you were young actually though when your pain started
Mm,
quite young, but they're really little. They've had it all their lives.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's just reminded me as well that my partner and I have been together for a really long time. So he has almost only ever known me to be, dealing with this. So, that in some ways that makes it easier that we've kind of learned all of this together over a really long period of time. But in terms of the kids, I mean, I would like to think that they're learning about empathy and how to help people when they're having hard times. And I know that, like, if I am having a lie down or something, on a really bad day, like, my son will whip around the house and do a little bit of cleaning and stuff like that. Like, they are really great
Good.
when things are hard. They all chip in, which is great. But
Oh,
like I was saying before, I think I also hope that they learn that um, that it is okay to have bad days, that it is okay to ask for help,
yeah.
that it is okay to sort of keep turning up and trying stuff, even though every day you kind of feel like you get belted down. You
Yeah.
just got to keep showing up and keep trying stuff. And I
Yeah.
kind of
So
hope that that's what they learn. I know that I think part of why my husband is so awesome as well is that his mum struggled a lot with headaches when she was
right.
when he was little, and so I know that he has learnt a lot from that whole process, and he's putting it to good use with
Yeah.
me.
Poor
But
thing.
yeah, I know.
So
There's left
glad
out.
with Theo. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, future looks like. What does it look like for Mandy?
I think the future's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
We yeah, we've just moved into a new house. We've got a pool being filled up as we speak. So I'm really looking forward to having, you know, access to a pool just in the backyard and being able to swim whenever I want. That'll be great
for you. That's going to be really good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I'm really getting into exploring creative stuff. So you know, I think we always think that work means paid work, and work and contributing to the family means you can only do that via your income or whatever. But I think I'm kind of contributing in other ways. I like to say that I, you know, contribute by looking after them in other ways, not just financially. So yeah, I'm doing some writing, which is not producing any income whatsoever except giving me joy. And
well, you never know where that might go.
Well, I hope so. I mean,
never
fingers
crossed.
But I'm just really lucky that I've got that time and space to explore that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think the future's looking pretty good.
That's so good. And you're helping me. Thanks for joining Pain Train, the advisory team. That's your feedback is being implemented now, actually, with this next interface. I've already seen the menu. It's starting to work, and it's just going to be so much better. You know, they're just all those little add-ons are going to be brilliant.
I'm a big reader, so if there's a book that has really resonated with me, I've got a long list of them. But yeah, it's usually my go-to is books, and there's a lot of good ones out there, and podcasts. I love listening to podcasts.
And you're a science. You get your head around the science because I read and read and read and forget it. By the time I get to the end of the page, I can't. I'm in a knot. I'm in a big knot by the time I get to the end of the page. Can you actually understand the science, like when you read those scientific papers?
Sort of. Sometimes I do a bit of skim reading. Like I'm just get to the point. Tell me. I like a good abstract. You can just read it and go, and I'll look at a few pictures of the graphs, and that's about it. But I prefer case studies and stories. Like I love a good story about someone, you know, their experience and what impact that's had and the changes that they might have made. I think stories are the way forward, the way that we can share what works for someone. The stories also can help with what we were sort of talking about before, with how we can change some of the attitudes that practitioners might have, is just like let them hear stories from patients and
case studies.
Yeah, I like those.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. Well, thank you. Thanks so much for chatting. This is really great.
Awesome. No, it's been great. Thank you. And thanks so much for asking me.
Oh, no. Look, horse's mouth. They've got to hear it from the horse's mouth. Let's hope professionals are watching too.